Mic check one. Mic check.
Loud. Check, check. Meeting of the Hamilton County Board of County Commissioners, February 25th, 2025. We have one item on our agenda this morning. It's a very sobering item. Thank you all for being here. It's been a challenging time in Hamilton County. We're here because of an abhorrent behavior of a group of Nazis who came to our community to spew hate and to sow discord. They're racist, they're fear mongers, and they have no place here. We stand against such a blatant disregard for our values and our embrace and celebration of diversity in Hamilton County. So we are going to do a couple of things here this morning. We are going to hear from the County Administrator, Jeff Aludo. All three of the county commissioners had questions that we posed to the administrator, asked him to answer those questions, and so we will have a report out on that. But we also have individuals from the community who are very expert in helping answer some of the questions that we have. Namely, and I'm going to introduce you by name now and then ask you to come forward later. So from Lincoln Heights, we've got Mayor Kinsey-Mumphrey. From the Sheriff's Office, we've got Sheriff Charmaine McGuffy. We've got from Evendale, Mayor Dick Finan. And from the Prosecutor's Office, we've got the Prosecutor, Connie Pillich, and teams. And I will let you introduce your teams as you come forward. But before we get started with all of that, I want to provide an opportunity for my colleagues to say a few words before we turn it over to Jeff. And we will introduce those of us that are up on the dais so everybody knows who's sitting up here. So Christy, we'll start with you.
Christy Rischel, Assistant Clerk.
Leslie Hervey, Clerk to the Board.
Stephanie Summer-Dumas, Commissioner.
Hamilton County Commissioner Alicia Reese.
Jeff Aludo, County Administrator.
Patrick Dressing, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney.
I'm Commissioner Denise Treehouse. So with that, Commissioner Summer-Dumas, I'm going to turn it to you.
Thank you all for coming today. It's very important that we hear directly from those that are responsible and have the obligation to keep our public safety safe, to keep us to a level where we can feel safe in our communities. I had some specific questions. Those are on here, but I had another question that is not on here. Should I do that now?
A question of whom?
The Chief of Evendale.
Well, if you don't mind, let's wait until they are at the dais.
Okay.
Microphone, and then they can answer those questions directly.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. And lastly, I'm just very glad that people are here because we've been wondering different things about what happened. And so some of the answers that we were given seem a little fluffy to me, and they don't get at where I want to go with them. And my major concern is the initial contact and how it happened and whether or not we were able to de-escalate, which we did. No one was hurt. No one was shot, no shots, no one was hurt, and we were able to separate people. But I believe that there are some other things that could have been done before all of that happened, and that some of what happened escalated the situation. I've worked with the police department, public safety, really all my life in every position that I've had. And so even some of the reports that we got, I question how they were written. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Reese?
Thank you. It's a sad time right now in Hamilton County. At a time when we have what they call Black History Month. And we are dealing with Black History Month with something of division that has happened in our county. I had gotten a call from Vice Mayor of Lincoln Heights, Linda Childs Jeter, who indicated to me they are here on a Friday afternoon. I said, who's here? She says, they're here in Lincoln Heights. I said, who's here in Lincoln Heights? She said, the Nazis have arrived. I said, what? And I had just given a speech here saying that we're not going to have that Washington tone brought here to Hamilton County, because if you remember, we had an incident right here in our building where we couldn't park, and we had some negativity happening. And I'm one who have taken on the KKK cross on Fountain Square, where we sent them a bill, and I was on city council. I'm one have taken on the KKK down at Grambling State University when David Duke, KKK Grand Wizard, said he was going to run for governor. I come out of civil rights, and I know when I see something this bad. And so when I got the call, I called Jeff Aludo. And Jeff said, I'm in a meeting. I said, are you aware of what's happening in Lincoln Heights? He said, we just got the information. Emergency management, Nick Crosley, is on top of it because he works with all the different jurisdictions. And then I got another call. She said, they're here. And seniors are very scared to come out. And so eventually I said, man, I got to get down there to Lincoln Heights. And Lincoln Heights residents had to take matters into their own hands. Now, in this report, which we'll get into, I asked for the report, but they had to take matters in their own hands. And Lincoln Heights residents ran them out of here. They did a justice for not only Lincoln Heights, but Hamilton County. They ran them up out of here. They stood their ground. Now, after that has happened, a lot of people were telling me, it's over, and let's go back to business as usual. Let's talk about Bengal Stadium issues, and let's go, isn't that so sad? I had some leaders tell me, that's terrible, but let me talk to you about my issue. I need some funding for this and funding for that. We cannot move forward until this gets solved. So then the videos start coming out. We're in a different time than in the 60s. The videos started coming. And the videos were disturbing. We were told one thing, even there's peaceful protests. I mean, your press release was out in 30 seconds. We were still running the Nazis out of here. They were peaceful. You took up for the Nazis. It appeared. And then Lincoln Heights was left with kids coming on the buses. We got the superintendent here from Princeton Schools. They weren't notified. Kids coming off of buses. Lockland Schools, we got a mother here who her child went to Lockland. She had to leave here, run, because she didn't know the Nazis' guns was over there by Lockland School, and she had to run. This is insane. And I want to make a big message. We got to make it uncomfortable. We're not having a welcome mat here in Hamilton County. We're not rolling out the red carpet here in Hamilton County. We got to make it very, very, very uncomfortable for them to come here. They went other places. Go somewhere else. You can't come here. And since that time, it's not over. There's another video out. And now you got the community, and you had the sheriffs working together. They arrested some guy, gave him a ticket. Finally, some guy running around in Lincoln Heights with the KKK literature. Why? Because we're making it comfortable. We're taking up for them. And those videos, I'm sorry, some new videos came out. Lockland issued a video. Why would we be leading somebody, you know the law better than probably regular citizens. Why were they led to Lockland at a school with guns and led by law enforcement? Why do I have to hear on social media they done identified the people? Well, we can't identify them. And we got that facial recognition supposed to be happening now. And according to them, somebody that was driving it had been in prison. I don't know if it's true or not, but why do the social media law enforcement got more than what we got? It's insane. And more videos come out now. I wanted to play the video today. They asked, please don't play the videos. Why? Because the truth can't be shown? If it's not good enough to play a video at our meeting, it's not good enough to have on our streets. They invaded. This is not, Mr. Lou, I appreciate it. I asked for a report, but you put on this report subject matter. Some of the stuff we say is demonstration. That was not a demonstration. That was an invasion. Lincoln Heights was doing what they supposed to do. They paying their taxes. They going to their own house. They in their own neighborhood. They not bothering anybody. These folks came in for them. They don't live here. They don't pay taxes here, and yet they got good service. On the videotape, now this is the video, unedited. No media can go in, take this out and that out. It's unedited. The guy says they're getting ready to bring an escort for us. Who's the escort? This ain't Lyft. This ain't Uber. And then all of a sudden we see the video later on of an escort service. And honestly, it was Evendale that we saw escorting them. Then on the video, after they kept the pressure on, these videos never would have got out, but they kept the pressure on, and you all released the videos, Evendale. We appreciate it. But on the video, one of your people is talking to the guy. Then led him to the school, and then talked to the guy and says, hey, I can go get your Jeep for you and bring it out here. What is this? This ain't the valet service. We want it uncomfortable. Don't come back here no more. No welcome mat here. And that's what I got a big problem. And then they got all these video groups. They call themselves a hate group. That's the name of their group. Hate is in their name. I didn't give them the name. They gave themselves the name. And supposedly they're supposed to be from Tennessee. Don't stay down there in Tennessee. Don't come up here with us. So I was upset with how the response came on. It came on with, we made a lot of excuses for them. We said, oh, we want love instead of hate. I hate to say this. This ain't about love. You don't have to love us, but you got to respect us as homeowners. You got to respect us as taxpayers. We ain't got to love everybody, but you can't come in here and invade my right to my property, to my community. And so they purposely picked this location according to the videos. They said they come into the hood to make a stand. And so for me, I asked Mr. Ludo to coordinate everybody, include everybody. At that time, prosecutor was not maybe notified because he said thank you. Bring everybody together. The sheriff, of course, the sheriff is independently elected. The prosecutor is independently elected. We can't tell them what to do. Just like we independently elected, they can't tell us what to do. But I do feel that there's a group that say, let's try to get to the bottom of it. But this is where I'm coming from. I don't care who it is. I'm going to ask the questions of the community because they seeing it with their own eyes. You can't tell them you didn't lead them out of there. It's on video. You can't tell them you didn't offer to go get their car. It's on video. You can't tell them you didn't go to a school. It's on video. And what I didn't like is that we focused on only de-escalation. It never would have escalated if we would have handled them and made it uncomfortable. But Lincoln Heights had to get over their parents, everybody, kids on buses, and defend themselves. And what I'm concerned about is now we're hiring people to look into it. Now, those people coming, they are getting paid. But Lincoln Heights is out there defending their own neighborhood for free. And that just, we got to get this back under control. So that's what I want to say. And a lot of people, they'll duck and hide when it comes to be tough, when you have to stand up. When it's easy, everybody's standing up. But this has got to stop. It is one community versus another community, but the reason is one community feels invaded. The other folks said that these people were peaceful and they can come and it's no problem. And that's where we have the friction. Now, Lincoln Heights, they thought it was going to just be Friday and it'd be over with. Lincoln Heights has not stopped. I don't know if Pastor Cook is here from Lincoln Heights Baptist and others, but it hasn't stopped. So I asked the administrator in 14 days the questions that citizens gave to me. I turned over to Jeff Aludo. And then I asked the commissioners their questions. And then to give us in writing, because I want, and all of you should get a copy. Jeff, I'm going to ask you to have Bridget or somebody provide copies. They got them? Okay. Everybody would have a copy of what the so-called answers. Now, on here, I agree with Commissioner Dumas. You know, we got some things on here, and we're like, well, you know, we want some real answers. And there are some cases where that I think could have been implemented. When a person is pulled over, they usually bring 2 or 3 cars. And they run your license plates, they run your license, everything else. They bring everything but the kitchen sink. And then if they can't find nothing, they let you go. I don't know why these people, they were not run through the system and they were not given a ticket or arrested. And I think there's some things on the books that could have done that. So I know the folks are here to give us some of their answers, but I will say that we have to get down to answers. And it has to be quickly because the folks are coming back. And I don't know if it's them or their cousins or groups that they done had, but we have now given them kind of like, hey, come on over here. You can come down here and throw these flyers around. Come on over here. You can come over. No, we got to, let's make it very uncomfortable. We calling it a hot spot. It's a hot spot, and we don't want them here. I'd like it to be a hot spot that you cannot bring this stuff here to Hamilton County. So that's what I have to say. Mr. Ludo has brought these pieces together, and look forward to it. But I will have additional questions, as Commissioner Dumas has indicated, because some of these responses, we can't do it. We got to wait. We got to look into it. And, you know, it's amazing that the social media people can find the folks, and we have a hard time finding them. And we've got to get some answers. So thank you.
Thank you. I want to reemphasize something. The administrator's report is a response to questions that three of us had. I do want to say that those questions are from us as county commissioners, but many of those questions came from the community, and people were contacting us with concerns, and so we felt an obligation and a responsibility, really, to get answers to the questions. And so we will not only hear from the administrator, but the people that can answer the questions, which are the people that are in the audience today. So, Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you to go through some of what you provided to us. There are, I think, 50 copies or so in the back of the questions and the answers to those questions. So if people would like to take them, it's also available on our website. And if people would like to comment and respond to that, there's an opportunity there as well to comment on our website. So, Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, commissioners. And just to echo that again, if we run out of copies back there, we can certainly make some more copies before folks leave today. And as you indicated, we do have it on the website as well, so folks can download it from there also. Commissioner, I knew that at the beginning of this, I knew there was going to be some introduction from each of the commissioners. I wasn't quite sure from an introductory perspective how deep to go into this, but recognizing that there may be some folks watching at home, many of whom might be very familiar and intimately familiar with what occurred on February 7th, but that some may not be. I'm just going to take a moment just to back up a bit, provide a brief bit of introduction. As the board is aware, there was, in fact, as been stated, a neo-Nazi hate group demonstration in the community on Friday, February the 7th. Overall, that incident, my understanding from our 911 center, in terms of the time that the hate group was present on the overpass in Evendale, was for approximately 42 minutes, but the event itself, from initiation to close, was over 4 hours. So this obviously was a significant amount of community disruption. The incident, as has been mentioned from the commissioners, was met by widespread and vehement community opposition, and also spurred a significant law enforcement presence that day. Since the incident, the community has raised various questions about the incident itself, its origin, and the response. The board echoed many of these questions and has asked the administration to coordinate responses to specific questions that were posed by the commission offices directly, but as was indicated earlier, many of those questions flowed from the community after hearing from the community through different meetings and communications. So the administration met with the specific agencies that were directly or indirectly involved with the February 7th incident to answer those questions and to provide you with that response. We did so formally this morning through the report that's here in the room. In addition to meeting with those various groups and coordinating those responses, I had asked representatives of those groups to be here at today's meeting to discuss the matter and provide a bit more context. These questions and the answers were designed to serve as a platform for further discussion and context at today's meeting. Commissioner Driehaus, you had introduced the teams broadly, and so I'm not going to go into that again, but I do want to thank all the attendees for being here today. I'm sure we'll introduce others as they may come to the dais at another time here this morning. I provided the board with the document detailing the responses to the questions the board had raised. Again, primarily this relates to responses from the Hamilton County Sheriff and the Village of Evendale, as they were the primary law enforcement entities on the scene that day. However, there was also input from the Hamilton County Prosecutor and also the Emergency Management Agency. Commissioner, I don't know that you referenced Nick Crosley, and I know Nick is somewhere in the room in the back as the director of our Emergency Management Agency. And I did reach out to Lincoln Heights as well to confirm that the substance of the board's questions adequately characterized the questions that they were hearing from the community. And I do want to thank Chris Williams, who's here as well from Lincoln Heights, for his time in walking through this. So as we have these various entities here today, commissioners, I don't know that it makes sense necessarily for me to walk through word for word the report, but there are a few high-level themes that I think are worth mentioning that I'm happy to walk through, just to, if for no other reason than just to initiate and spur conversation and perhaps set the context for this morning discussions. So the first question that I wanted to hit, and it was really one of the first questions asked, and I think it was asked of the board verbally in the days following the incident, and that was just the question of why didn't we as a community know that this was occurring? Why didn't we have some sort of forewarning? So we've looked into that. Unfortunately, the answer is that we just did not have forewarning of this particular event. I did speak with EMA, spoke with the Sheriff's Intel Unit, confirmed this with folks from Evendale as well, that there simply wasn't forewarning or any sort of pre-notice of this event occurring. From my conversations with EMA in particular and the Sheriff's Intel Unit, it does not appear that this particular group uses any sort of open source media that would lend itself to tracking publicly, so their appearances are always not known in public. I did hear from EMA, which contacted Franklin County on the board's behalf because there had been some indication that they knew about this in Columbus before the incident. Our information from Franklin County was that they did not know about that event in advance. I believe there is some anecdotal information that in some of these events, people have had have seen them, the group coming on the highway, and have provided some anecdotal warnings in advance of them arriving at a specific site, but that from an intelligence perspective, we didn't know that the event was going to occur. There were several questions that the board asked just around the idea of the issue of why there were no arrests or citations that were made. And again, my purpose in this tee-up is not to answer directly for the sheriff or Evendale, but the response that I provided to the board indicated that the primary focus of law enforcement during that incident was on de-escalation, reducing the time that the hate group was in town, avoiding injury and loss of life. But importantly, I would note that the question of arrestable offenses has been turned over to the Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office, who's now reviewing the available footage and the evidence from that perspective. There was another theme in the questions posed by the board that focused on the manner in which law enforcement, particularly as shown in the body cam footage, engaged and interacted with the hate group. When I spoke with Lincoln Heights, I also heard the message that one of the major concerns was that it just appeared, and as has been echoed from the board, that that law enforcement that day was overly helpful to the hate groups that were present and the individuals. Again, the response that I had received on those specific questions was that the agencies indicated that they were focused heavily on de-escalating the situation and on ensuring that the incident ended without injury or loss of life. So that may be another avenue for further conversation this morning and understanding that dichotomy. Finally, Commissioners, as has been discussed, I do want to reiterate that there are additional investigations that are and reviews that are being chartered out of this conversation. I know that the sheriff is proceeding with an investigation of policies and practices. I'll leave it to Sheriff McGuffy to talk more about that. I know that Evendale commissioned an independent review from a private firm on this matter. I believe both entities have turned available evidence, video evidence, body cam footage, et cetera, over to the Hamilton County Prosecutor to review whether there was anything that occurred that day that does warrant additional criminal investigation. So in terms of next steps, I'd say that this report today is the beginning of a process that will continue as it relates to reviews and investigations chartered by those individual entities. So with that, Commissioners, I'll turn it back over to you, as I'm sure the board would like to hear from other representatives from some of the other agencies that are here.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And thanks again to the individuals that are here. I'm going to call you up one by one. I also want to thank the community members that are in attendance today. We've got a number of community members. Thank you for attending the meeting. So first, the mayor is here from Lincoln Heights, Ruby Kinsey-Mumphrey. Mayor, would you please come forward? The idea, you say whatever you'd like to say, but hopefully we'll get an update on what's going on, what's happening in Lincoln Heights, and this was kind of the epicenter for the incident to begin with, and so we wanted to make sure that we heard from you first.
Well, a lot has been, my name's Ruby Kinsey-Mumphrey, Mayor for the Village of Lincoln Heights. So I want to first thank you for allowing me to come speak before the commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner Alicia Reese. Thank you, President Denise Driehaus, and thank you, Commissioner Summerall Dumas. So what I would like to say, a lot has happened in the Village of Lincoln Heights, and we are quite upset with things that have transpired, not just the neo-Nazis, but that we were not included in Evendale's hiring of an independent investigation. We feel that the Village of Lincoln Heights should have been a part of that conversation, and to get it secondhand was truly disrespectful to our community. As well as we also feel that we should have gotten also when our Hamilton County Sheriff McGuffy did her presentation, or she spoke, that we also was not included in that, me not even knowing that she was going to be speaking when she did her press conference was also disrespectful to our community. So yes, we're quite upset, and we feel that if this is happening to our community, we should be also part of the conversation. When that took place, I myself was unable to make it. I was stuck over in northern Kentucky, as some of you have already read, having to wait to try to get to, not knowing what was going on in my community, having another council member, Karen Hingston, call me to let me know what was transpiring in the Village of Lincoln Heights, hearing people scream and holler, get away from our community, her telling me, letting me know in real time what was going on was a terror for me, knowing that our children was getting off the school buses, that our seniors was only 100 feet away. That was just awful, and just the disrespect of the Village of Lincoln Heights. Our village is proud individuals, and we deserve the respect from whoever that choose to work with the village. That should have never took place. And now they're, going through our community and other communities, passing out notices, hate, leave here, pictures of us, of African Americans behind bars. That's not going to be tolerated, and it should not be tolerated throughout not just Lincoln Heights, but the entire Hamilton County area. So I'm just here to speak on behalf of the Village of Lincoln Heights that we do not appreciate the disrespect, not being inclusive to what our needs are, and we deserve to be listened to. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Please, I don't want you to leave the podium. There might be some questions, I don't know. But thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping us move through this. I know, or I really don't know how traumatic this experience has been for the individuals that live in Lincoln Heights. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I think, commissioners, why don't we ask questions as the speakers come forward, if there are any, and then we'll just move through the speakers. So Commissioner Summer-Odumas.
Okay, I have one question at least for the mayor of Evendale.
But so for the mayor of Lincoln Heights first, and then we
have
will.
no questions.
Okay, very
But
good.
what I will say is a statement, continued disrespect as relates to getting a third-party person. I don't know if you were told how much it would cost. I heard you can correct me, that it was $70,000 for the consultant. I don't know if you were asked, are you willing to pay some portion of it? Were you, sounds like you were not even aware of it until you heard it on the news. So
Till it was sent to me after the fact. So that's where I'm saying we were not included. We're uncomfortable with who they chose. We don't, not to be in the room is truly an utmost disrespect. Not to know, when you say that you're picking an independent investigator, you could pick who is going to weigh in your favor. So that's where we're at, and we disagree. That the way they went down that road, it should have not happened.
another sign of disrespect.
Yes, ma'am.
And we know culturally, Black people are disrespected, and respect is so important, not only for everybody, but specifically the Black culture. So we want to cut that. We want to stop that. We want to be more inclusive, and you would think that people that are pulling things together would be more sensitive to how we move forward. So I'm very concerned about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Reese.
Mayor, thank you for being here, and city council members, community members that are here as well. One thing I wanted to just add real quickly, I know Administrator Ludo, one of the answers was the reason they didn't know they were coming, they're not active on social media. They are active. I think they're called the Hate Club is what their name is. Some of the stuff on there is very disturbing. I mean, it's some stuff they're talking about. They talked about fires and all kind of. They intentionally went what they call the hood tour. Now, when they went to Columbus, they went downtown, I believe. In other places, they're in downtown municipalities. This time, they went specifically to go to a Black community. They were going to make their stand. And so I want to really thank the residents of Lincoln Heights and those who saw it on social media, who stopped and said, we're going to run them out of here. And that's really in the report when you said the first thing they were trying to do is get them out of there. That's not true. They only wanted to get them out of there when Lincoln Heights showed up to get them out. They were going to let them just be out there however long, because according to the press release, it said, oh, this was a peaceful protest. I don't know how it was peaceful, but the only reason that they ran them out of there is because Lincoln Heights residents and folks who pulled over on the highways and got out the cars and had to defend themselves and run it out of there. So I wanted to highlight that. The other thing is, I do think it is interesting that this escalated with Lincoln Heights, and Lincoln Heights is the place where they're still passing out the flyers. And I will tell you that there are residents from Evendale that I know that called me and said, man, this doesn't look good. I've seen the videos. I live here, and this don't look good for us at Evendale as a resident, as residents. So, but I don't hear about them passing out nothing over here. I hear about passing out stuff over here. So how can you have a full investigation without dealing with the people that's being targeted? And it baffles me. Because I don't think things is getting better, it's getting more and more divided. Because until we all can stand up and say this thing was wrong and somebody has to be held accountable, there's going to continue to be problems. So you just spoke that you were not involved, you were not asked. We can't even talk about the money yet because who knows? I mean, we might have sponsored it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I would have been willing to get to the bottom of it, but it has to have Lincoln Heights involved. So tell us what's going on. I mean, how can you have an investigation and the people who were targeted are not part of the investigation. So
Yeah, and then
where do
we get
go?
it secondhand. I mean, who does that? Who does that? Who thinks that you can have a meeting over here and not include the village that it affected? Who does that? It doesn't make sense, and it's will not be tolerated, and was truly a disrespect, as we've always been disrespected. But we are here today to let everybody know this will not happen anymore at the Village of Lincoln Heights.
Do you have any questions that we didn't have? I know we have on there about the permit and different things, but is there any, like, one or two questions that you would like to make sure that is addressed today that the
Well, I think that when it comes to the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, the village needs to be included. It doesn't make, why do I need to find out that a press conference is going to go on when I get off from work and it's on the news, or I'm at work and someone's calling me? That should not happen. So I'm asking that the commissioners make sure that the village is included when it comes to the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. You know, we pay them a lot of money, you know, regardless of what people may think about our community. Our community is a prideful community, a historical community, and we should not be subjected to what we've been subjected to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
We did not know about the press conference either. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Our next speaker is Sheriff Charmaine McGuffy. And Sheriff, I know you've got a team with you, and I'm going to leave it to you to introduce your team.
Certainly. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me to speak and allowing me to answer questions on behalf of the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. The team I have here with me today is the Chief Deputy Jay Gramke. I have Major Chris Kettman, Major Tony Aru. I have our PIO, Public Information Officer here, Kyler Woods, and I have a consultant, Mary Carol Melton, and myself, of course.
Thank you. So can you please give us an update on what you are doing, what you are seeing? I know you've got an independent investigation going on, and we'd love to hear an update as to how that's going and what the time frames are.
Certainly. So, you know, the event that happened, I want to first of all say, simply because the Ohio lawmakers have not given us the tools to do what the police need to do when these hate groups arrive, doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it any less horrific for the people of Lincoln Heights and the people of Hamilton County. We condemn the actions of that group. We condemned them from day one. We continue to condemn them, and we continue, and then personally, I continue to talk to anybody that wants to talk to me, to show up at any forum that I'm invited to address this issue. I will say that as this event began to unfold, and I was at Lincoln Heights for the very first press conference, if you will, about what happened. I was there for 3 hours, and I attempted to answer questions, and the first thing that I said was, I know this. This is what I know. Officers are trained to de-escalate. That is what our training encompasses, first and foremost. How do we save lives? How do we protect people? We knew and could see plainly and clearly that there were guns there at that event. Some of the hate group was wearing guns, open carry guns. That is allowed in Ohio. They had their face masked in these ridiculous, just intimidating masks that they had on, all matching, designed to intimidate people. Again, there is not a law that allows us to say you can't wear that mask while you're open carrying, trying to intimidate people. So our officers who responded from Lincoln Heights, they took at the one end of the bridge, they were there managing the crowd that was gathering. And their purpose, their sole purpose, was to not escalate violence. And we knew, like everybody knows, when you introduce guns into a situation and you have a ridiculous, cowardice hate group standing there trying to entice people to violence, there could be bloodshed, lots of it. And we were trying to prevent that. We wanted to have a distance. And the reason that that distance became less and less is because there was a call that came out on the radio that an officer on the bridge had someone at gunpoint. And the reason he had him at gunpoint, as I understand it, was because the person was reaching into their waistband. And to us, that signals gun. So he pulled out his service weapon, actually put it on the individual, and called it, as he should do. And, you know, as we're trained to do, is those split-second decisions, he suddenly realized that the person was reaching for a cell phone. So he had to holster his weapon. And by then, we had heard the call come out. So our deputies, of course, responded the way they're supposed to be, the way they're trained, which was to run to that incident to help if there was going to be potential gunfire. And thereby doing, the residents of Lincoln Heights, of course, followed us. They followed the officers, they followed the deputies to that area. At that point, things became very chaotic. And and as I saw on the video, okay, as I saw on the video, the officers that were there, including our deputies, were encouraging and telling those Nazis, get in your truck, get out of here. Because they did not, I'm sure, first and foremost in their mind, as we've talked about, did not want gunfire to erupt. We'd already had a one at gunpoint. That raises everybody's adrenaline. Everybody's just trying to do their best in that chaotic scene. So the Nazis did run. They ran. I said that too. They ran and jumped in their U-Haul and abandoned the things that they had left there on the bridge. And from there, you know, all I can do is report on what was told to me, what the video footage shows, etc. And from there, our deputies then turned to the Lincoln Heights residents and began to continue that de-escalation, to talk to people, to try and calm things down, because these individuals had left. They had gotten in that U-Haul truck and left. And we were aware that there was a car over in that lot that had been damaged. We don't know who damaged it. We really don't. We have body cam footage and so forth, but we have no idea who, you know, what happened to that vehicle. But summarily, we found out that the vehicle belonged to someone in that group. So as far as information flow, you know, I attended the Lincoln Heights meeting just 2 days after the event. We were still compiling information, body cam, trying to talk to people and so forth, to talk about what our response was and answer questions. You know, I understand that it was very difficult for the community, and the community was, well, they were very upset, which I understand. I'm not criticizing anybody for that. My subsequent press conference was simply to put information out to the entire Hamilton County. That was what was in my mind. It was widely advertised 24 hours before the event. I know the media was on, you know, saying, hey, we're going to have this press conference, we're going to talk to the sheriff, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And they announced the time and said it would be on and so forth. Additionally, they did, as I understand, a Facebook Live on it, so they captured the entire press conference for anyone to see. That was posted on YouTube. And I will tell you, in my history of being the sheriff for 4 years, every press conference I've done has been done that same way. I've had press conferences because deputies have done the wrong thing, and we've had to arrest them and so forth. I've had press conferences about events in Hamilton County that we needed to push information out about. And I did it in the same exact way that I've done it for 4 years. Now, granted, you know, hindsight's always 20/20, and if people want to be notified about my press conference, I'll notify each and every person in this room. If I have to, I'll call them on their personal cell phones. I don't have a problem notifying people that we're going to do something. What the press conference was, what my intent was to let everyone know at the same time that we are handing this over to the prosecutor's office. Here's what I know at this time from what we were able to review, and I answered every question that the media had, no holds barred. And, you know, I'm happy to have people stand with us at a press conference if that's what they would like to do. You know, my intent as the sheriff of Hamilton County, which I have proven over these 4 years, is to be transparent, is to show up, is to answer questions, even when it's difficult. And that's what I intend to do, and I'm going to keep doing that. And my apologies to the mayor if Lincoln Heights felt slighted by that. Certainly wasn't intentional. It's the way I've done press conferences, you know, moving forward. And we've had 25 of them, I bet, in the last 4 years. And I've run them the exact same way. So, you know, what I will say is that, again, I understand that when something like this happens for the community, it is absolutely heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for me, you know, and it's just horrific. It's horrific, you know. We're being accused. I'm being personally accused of being a Nazi. I resent that. I truly resent that. You know, look at my career. Look at my past. I stood up when people were being beaten and were being, you know, horribly abused inside that jail. And I was told over and over to sit down and be quiet. And when I got fired, there were very few people that came to my rescue. Nobody believed me. I had to prove it. And I did prove it. And I don't resent that. And I don't regret one day that I've called out the wrong thing when the wrong thing happens. And I'm going to continue to communicate. And I do know, I understand that something like this breaks your heart. The residents of Lincoln Heights have had their hearts broken. They've had their security shattered to a point where they feel as though they need to open carry and protect their neighborhood. You know, I'm not going to criticize that. People want me to. I'm not going to. I understand it. And so I'll take questions now if anybody has questions.
Can I just have a quick question? I don't know if it's for you or for the folks in Evendale, and so I'll leave it to you to tell me which is most appropriate. So you talked about your training, the de-escalation training, and that was the primary goal of law enforcement. And my understanding is from both the sheriff's office and from Evendale, the primary goal was to de-escalate so that nobody got hurt at the event. From a layperson's perspective, though, and I've heard this from a number of people, that appears to be not arresting people, not citing people, not if there were arrestable or citable offenses. And this was one of my questions to the administrator. And I have been told, well, if you are taking the time to cite someone, you have delayed them getting out of there. So could you help us better understand, because a number of folks have asked this question.
Sure.
When you're trying to de-escalate, how does that either is it counter to this idea you should have arrested or cited folks on the scene, and how do those two things either work together or not work together?
So yes, and that is the crux of the issue, isn't it? Is for the residents and the public to say, why didn't you all move in there, put those idiots, those Nazi idiots in handcuffs and drive them away? And my answer to that, first and foremost, is our officers are trained in the law, right? And they are trained to not put themselves in a position that's going to get them sued when they know what they can do and can't do. And what, again, I'm going to, you know, people may agree or not agree, but I absolutely know this is true. I was sitting there when they passed these gun legislations up at Ohio. The group of men that were in that group, I pled with them, please don't do this, all right? You're creating danger for everyone, and they continued to do it. So I'm going to say to you, I'm going to answer the question. Our officers are trained that we can't just go in because someone's open carrying and yelling slurs and doing that, that ridiculous, it was hateful. It was awful. And our officers are trained to minimize, and they saw that as that was their immediate goal, and don't we all have the benefit of hindsight? All of us do. And how many of us have been involved in a chaotic situation or been pressed and stressed and our adrenaline is up here, and then we go back and we say, man, okay, I should have thought about that. Oh, I should have said that. We're talking about people here who are not robots. The deputies that responded on the bridge that day, they did the absolute best with what they were surprised with. We had no prior knowledge. Absolutely not did we have prior knowledge. And, I have to tell you, when the deputies were faced with that and the chaotic, and once those people one of the Lincoln Heights residents was able to actually grab on to one of those Nazis as he was fleeing. And we had to say, whoa, let him, and I don't know how it was resolved. If he lost his grasp on the guy, if the guy looked like the guy kind of wiggled away and then ran to get in the van. When you're that close, one of the Nazis pulled out bear spray, for God's sakes. He's in that van, it's on the video, he's got bear spray, and he's trying to spray our officer. And our officer is telling him, don't you, I'm not going to use bad words up here. And the point was that there were beyond the bear spray, there were guns. There were guns in that van. And those guys were packed in there, and it was dark. If they had shot somebody, we'd have a heck of a time finding out who pulled the trigger. But the bottom line is, to answer your question, Madam President, is really just that. That's what I can tell you. That's exactly why we've pushed all this information to the prosecutor's office. We would like third eyes on it. And honestly, I'll tell you right now, pick anybody you want to investigate it, and we will cooperate fully. There should be no secrets here. And if law enforcement has something to learn from, let's learn it. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff. And I just want to say publicly that I have worked with you for many years, and you have been extremely professional and available. So I appreciate your service. And I think it was said just earlier that the Lincoln Heights residents are protecting their village, and they are. And I went through there last night, and there are also sheriffs there. So the sheriffs have not left, but they are still there. So I just wanted to clarify that. Yes. Just 2 points about the press conference. Personally, I don't want to be involved with all your press conferences, but as you will admit, this was a different press conference only because commissioners are involved in this process. Whether or not you decide to exit employee, that's up to you. But this press conference was a little different. And so I'm sure you're aware of that, and that's why we wanted to be involved. I'm sure that's why Lincoln Heights wanted to be involved. But something I need to say, and I believe I said it at the first hearing at the Village of Lincoln Heights, is about de-escalation. Mm-hmm. And your staff and all the public safety staff are trained to de-escalate. Yes. Now, I don't know who's on the video, if it's an Evendale police officer or not, but I remember them saying, maybe not word for word, this incident was unfortunate, but it was lawful. I remember hearing that. And to me, that escalated. It didn't de-escalate, because who cares if somebody I love and I'm invaded in my homeland? Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's lawful or not. I don't want to hear that part. Sure. It's great to say that it was unfortunate, but leave that whoever said that needs to be given more training, because to me, it's like, it's okay that it happened. They didn't violate the law, and I have a question about whether or not the law was violated or not. So I really have a question of whether or not the first ones on the scene, the public safety officers, escalated the situation. Of course, they de-escalated because no one was hurt. But should they have just kept their mouth quiet about whether or not it was lawful or not? We don't care about that. You know, we know it's unfortunate, but leave that part out for now. And I question whether or not it was lawful, or I have some other stuff, but I'll wait and talk to the other officers.
Okay.
That's all I have.
So noted. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Reese.
Thank you, Sheriff. And as indicated, we've supported. I know I've supported you. You know, your election and so forth, and our board has supported all of the things that you brought forward to us, funding and all of that. We, you know, we trust you in terms of what we need to do to keep Hamilton County safe.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So I wanted to take that off the table. The fact that you said they're calling you, and you're not. You like to hear some stuff they've been calling me my whole life. You know.
Oh, I understand.
And you, so we understand the struggle of words.
Of course you do.
But this went beyond words, and I guess I do have a few questions. One is that you all patrol. These were questions that the people gave me.
Yes,
Okay, because they also elected me too, so I've got to ask the questions.
of course.
You have the contract to patrol Lincoln Heights.
Yes.
And I love Lincoln Heights, but Lincoln Heights is not that big. It's not like Cincinnati.
No, it isn't. Right. That's right.
And so there were some questions on the timing. It seemed like the sheriffs kind of showed up after Lincoln Heights had already, you know, they had to get on the phone. They had to get on social media. They had to put, some people had to, you know, get their coat and hat and get out there and grab their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So before we got to de-escalation, I guess what Lincoln Heights is asking, the sheriff, you're our police. Why was it only take you 2-3 minutes to go around Lincoln Heights, you know, one time?
Right. Well, and that is the timeline that we're working on establishing with the prosecutor's office, so that we can establish exactly when the call came in to our lieutenant, who is the commander of Lincoln Heights, when the call came in across dispatch. We know that timelines provided by the 911 were at 2:08. They received a call alerting that there were subjects that are getting out of a U-Haul and wearing body armor and have AR-15s and waving swastika flags. So from that timeline, we have to discern, okay, where, you know, what deputies responded. That's all on their body cams of when they got that. Those were all turned over to the prosecutor's office, and how soon they got there, and that's being reviewed right now, and I welcome that review, because I want to know also is how prompt was our response. And I'm just going to say you're exactly right. Lincoln Heights is a smaller community. We are in cars and vehicles, so we should be able to get there very quickly, and I will provide you that answer as I get to know it. And I do have other timelines of 2:41 p.m., received radio traffic advising one person was at gunpoint and requested additional units. And that's the situation that I described to you. Now, the timeline goes on, and this is from the 911 communication center, which is on tape. So we have that, of course, very clearly because it's on tape. The other part is what we have to, you know, discern, document, etc., because we have to know when the deputies heard it, what they did when they heard it, you know, where they were. So, so at any rate, okay, thank you. So at 2:09, deputies were dispatched. At 2:11, another call received reference to subjects walking towards the overpass. 2:11, first deputy arrived on scene. So the major obviously has been researching that for me. I didn't realize he had that. So, so at 2:11, we arrived on scene from the 2:08 911 call. And then our lieutenant drives on to the overpass at 2:22. And at 2:25, we document that a large group of Lincoln Heights residents have gathered there. So those are our timelines for when our deputies.
Now go back, 2:25 is when Lincoln Heights showed up.
It says here on our timeline of events, it just notes a large group. It doesn't
Large,
say
yeah, larger.
It
But
just
they're here.
notes that the group is getting larger.
Bigger, 2:25. Because my point on de-escalation, if we got it at 2:09, and you're saying the community didn't show up to 225, and then we.
No, I didn't say that. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's what I misunderstood you.
I'm sorry. Let me clarify it. We are just noting that at 225, the group has become quite large. I'm sure there were people there at 209. I'm sure there were people there from Lincoln Heights at, minutes after that.
Yeah.
But then as word got out, of course,
Yeah,
people came to the area.
Yeah.
So for us, it was important to document once we realized we have a very large crowd here. So that's what we did.
Yeah. Reason I was going to ask you about that is if there's a call, and I'm not in law enforcement, but we all have had situations when a person get a traffic stop.
Sure.
And
yes,
they
ma'am.
pull over and they might have some tinted windows. And we got 3 or 4 jurisdictions running like crazy. And they pull them over and they want to get their license and that's the first thing you say, give me your license and registration. I need to know who you are. And then they run it back 3 or 4 times. And if they see something, get out the car. And then they usually always find, because, they got 25 things they can get you with, right? It might not be, the highest one, but if they can find one thing on the 25 list, then they arrest you or they give you a ticket or something like that. Very few times do they say, okay, you're good, go ahead and go. So my point is when we see something suspicious, which is that you said we didn't know they were coming.
Right.
According to what everybody says, not on you, but according to what everybody said, there was supposedly, I guess, no permit. So you didn't know they was coming. You didn't have a permit. They didn't go through a process. So now we just see some guys in all black with masks on with a bunch of guns, and they jumping out of a truck. I mean, maybe I watch TV too much, but SWAT or something, it usually, man, this is an emergency situation. Some unidentified people dressed in black, got guns and AR-15s. I don't see how we jump out and we automatically, this may not be with you, but it automatically say they was here for peaceful. Either you knew they were coming, because that's the only way you would know they're peaceful, because you don't know them. You ain't talked to them. You don't have their phone number. You don't know what outfit they got on. All you know is they got some guns, like you said, Sheriff, which is very, very dangerous for the community and dangerous for law enforcement. I don't understand why all the stuff, I mean, we don't have helicopters anymore. Everything should have been flying, SWAT teams, everybody, because we got some unidentified folks who have jumped out of a U-Haul and they got on all black and they got some guns. How did we come to the conclusion that they're peaceful? How did we already identify immediately they're here to be peaceful? Do we know them? Do we have their address?
I would ask. I would ask where that statement came from, because I didn't make that statement. There's no deputy that I know that was there at the scene that made that statement. I haven't seen that statement written in any of the dispatch, so I don't understand where that's coming from. Our deputies did not think it was peaceful. They were carrying open carry weapons with intimidating masks, and they were saying the vilest things that people could hear. It's disgusting. We did not say, and I did not say, and nor did we deem that as peaceful. That was anything but peaceful. So I'm really not clear where that came from.
Yeah.
I'm not clear on it.
Yep, and I appreciate you saying I wanted to get that clarified, because
Sure.
I'll be ready for Evendale when they get up here. The other thing I would just ask is, from a ticketing standpoint, there is something, we'll talk to the prosecutor about it, but there is something that went to the Ohio Appeals Court that said if you use the N-word in a fighting, intimidating way, and we see the videos, and unfortunately I wanted to show the videos today, but they asked me don't show the videos because everybody will get mad. Well, this is what the people live through. On the video, you see a couple things. One, you see a guy saying, we're going to get, I don't know who he called, but he said, we just got off the phone. They're going to send an escort to get us out here. You weren't on, the sheriffs were not on the escort, but I want to identify that. That was one thing on the video. Second, on the video, to a residence, they said, when the guy, because open carry, he had his gun. The other guy said, hey, I'm law, I got a license for a gun. He told him, we're going to lock your black A up. Okay, how can you lock somebody up? Do you have handcuffs? I mean, what kind of connect? So my point is, that's what the question was that they said. And then the other thing that I had asked this question, and I don't know if it was the answer that was correct, but I asked the question of, in the back of a cargo style U-Haul, it wasn't a van, it was the cargo style. They jumped in the back of that, right? And my understanding is that is not, if you had a cargo of people in that, say it wasn't the Nazis, it was somebody else. Sure. When they pulled them up and they'd have pulled that thing up, some folks would have got ticketed or either got detained or something. And they didn't have seatbelts back there. No. But the answer at the town hall was, and that's what kind of got me a little, and the people were a little upset. I see Pastor Cook here, he was upset. Because we was quick to say, it's legal, we can do it. And then they looked it up and they said that's not legal. So is that something we've further researched?
And the prosecutor's office can clear this up for us because they have people that are trained in the law, all the nuances of the law. The nuance of that law, as I understand it, as our deputies understand it, is if you are under 16, if you are a child and you are traveling in the back of that U-Haul, that is a violation of law. If you are over 16, that is not a violation of law. So that is what we talked about when we initially described, okay, yes, these men get in that van, and we've read the ORC, and it does stipulate an age differential for that. And, you know, what I can answer to is the way we would see it, the way our deputies are trained to interpret that. And I will say this, you know, in this region, you know, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to, as we've asked legislators, clarify it for us. You know, clarify what you're doing. Make this law something that we can point to and say 100% that is something we can do that's within the legislature, within the law. And I understand people get tired of me hearing me point the finger, but I was up there. I saw what those men in Columbus that were the legislators, I saw what they were looking at and what they said. And I'm going to call it out all day long. It doesn't make me popular. And again, that's not my goal. My goal for them is do something. They've continually eroded what the police can do when we're faced with dynamic gun situations, mass situations. You know, the whole U-Haul truck, that's a strategy. Those guys use that strategy. And we need the legislators to pay attention and give us options. Tell us, because we're asking for it. And that's the best way I can answer your question, Commissioner, is that, you know, we knew that nuance of the law, and that is what guided officers. Now, I'm speaking for officers, and I wasn't there. But that's my, you know, that's what I know officers are trained to do.
Well, my last question, and I just believe there's a menu of laws, and there's something on there they violated. And I think they should have got some ticketing. We should have got their names. We should know who we are. I don't know who they are. They can walk up here tomorrow, and I have no idea who they are. But the internet found them. And I just think that there was a menu and something on it. Might not have been the one that put somebody in prison, but there's a menu when they stop a regular citizen, and particularly African Americans, there's always a menu. And they find something. Take them downtown and figure it out later. So that's where I think a lot of people were concerned about. But my last thing on the press conference, and I know that, like I said, you're independently elected. We can't tell you what to do. You can't tell us what to do. We're independently elected. It's not like City Hall where they hire a police chief. So I wanted people to understand that, because people don't quite understand how we do it. But what I would say, and what I would recommend is something like this. Usually it's happened to me when I had to deal with what was going on in my other capacities. They would usually get a call before the press conference that night. They'll call the mayor, they'll call the interested parties and say, listen, I'm getting ready to turn this over. And I wanted you to know about it so that you're not reading about it. and I have a press conference. And not necessarily mean they got to come to your press conference, but even with us, Jeff usually say, hey, got a call from the sheriff, or sometimes you call us directly. I got a call, we're getting ready to turn this thing over. I'm going to announce it tomorrow. I'm turning it over. And I think that's where the people are asking for the respect. Lincoln Heights feels very disrespected, and they have been for many, many years. Our board came along and finally started, because they pay taxes too, and we finally started investing in Lincoln Heights. They were disinvested in we've been in existence 234 years, and Lincoln Heights has never really had investment. They went through a lot when they divided Lincoln Heights and created Evendale. And Evendale got all of the industry, and Lincoln Heights was left with no industry, but they're still going. So they feel disrespect. They feel like the sheriffs are hired to patrol Lincoln Heights. Of course, you got the whole county, but they feel like you're our law enforcement, you're our chief of police or whatever. Sure. So the mayor and others feel like, hey, you're getting ready to do something on this because their constituents are going to get on them. Why didn't you know this? And why didn't you know that? They need to know. And so I just think the same way the patrols were on the ground, because they're on the ground every day, it only take you 2-3 minutes to go around in circles. The same way they didn't get informed with Lincoln Heights, and Lincoln Heights right here, and here's your sheriff, they feel the same way. Now the sheriff, you don't come in, they happy, man, Sheriff McGuffy don't come in on this thing. But why didn't I get the phone call? Y'all probably have to talk 5, 6, 7 times, because things are, like you said, they're changing.
Certainly.
When the body cam's coming out, usually
Right.
they show the local municipality first. Let me do a private thing and show you the body cam. And then you might get with Jeff, hey, I want y'all to see what I don't want you to be surprised. We're getting ready to turn this thing over. Same thing with Evendale, whoever. But that's why, and it furthers, and the bottom line is, it has not stopped. I got to tell everybody, it has not stopped. That's the problem. Because we was too welcoming, they have not stopped. Others have come and said, well, I can ride around Lincoln Heights and throw flyers and nobody's going to say anything. And I could come. And they mentioned something that really, someone brought to me that they said they mentioned, and I'm concerned about it, and I don't want it to happen, and that is Greenwood. We don't want Black Wall Street where they burn down Tulsa. So I even want the fire department involved. We got to be ready because we were too accommodative. And so that's all that I wanted to say with you, Sheriff. I think that's what they meant about the press conference. Then with us, we have our meetings now at 10 o'clock, so I don't know if we could have been there at all. But just so people come to us, we can answer questions. So, people get frustrated when they don't feel like they're getting, any information. So that's all that I would say in terms of my recommendation for future is that, those municipalities, if you're going to release this body camera or what have you, because you're getting more information. And I know, as you've indicated, if you see something, find out something, you're going to put your foot down. But they need to also know kind of what's going on because you are their safety. They don't have their own different police department. So that's all that I wanted to say. And I just believe that there are something on that list that we could have got these guys' name, we could have got who they are. So if we know if they're walking around among us,
Sure.
if they walk up to the school, and we have, I just want to also acknowledge Pastor Julian Cook has come in, Mr. Daniels from the Heights Movement, and Mr. Carlton's here as well from the Heights Movement. They're doing a lot of work. And then we have the superintendent, Elgin Carr, back there from Princeton Schools. So I wanted to make sure that they were acknowledged that they had arrived, President Treehouse. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
I would like to, if I can, just make one statement that our deputies are very concerned and working in Lincoln Heights, and I would like to just make the statement for information, and I've already made it on several venues when I've been interviewed by the radio and so forth, that crime in Lincoln Heights, since we've been patrolling it, is down 70%. And that serious crime is down 35%. Crimes of a lesser nature, which would be misdemeanors, is down 45%, and it's continuing to trend downward. I have those stats for anybody that would like them.
Thank you. All right, next we're going to hear from Mayor Dick Finan from Evendale. Mayor, thank you for being here. I'm going to leave it to you to introduce your team as well.
First of all, I appreciate the fact that you invited us here today. I'm accompanied by the Vice Mayor, Mr. Burke, another council person, Carolyn Smiley Robertson, and another council person, Chris Patterson. It'll come. Chris Patterson. What we have started to do and continue to do is about transparency about the situation as much as we can. I call your attention to the 3 documents that are in your packet, which are statements of the fact about the Nazi demonstration, a notification from a letter from me, which denounces the actions of that day by the Nazis, and finally another statement that talks about that situation. We answered all of the questions that Alito provided to us, and they are included in your packet. And, we stand by those statements as being correct and proper as to what the situation was at that time. Yesterday, we announced the hiring of CP-21 to do an investigation of the actions of the police department. It's been requested by a number of different people. CP-21 is a well-respected national organization. They've done work in various cities throughout the United States, similar to what we are asking them to do. I can also tell you that their investigation will be comprehensive, and they will include all of the stakeholders as far as information coming to them. And I ask everyone to be available to cooperate with them. They were hired after we interviewed several people, several groups about it. But we wanted a group that was disassociated from Cincinnati and that area to be our primary responsibility for the investigation as it goes forward. We regret everything that's happened about the situation, and that's why we are doing this. We're as interested as you are in finding out the bottom of the line. We, as quickly as possible, released the body cams, over 15 hours of body cams to Prosecutor, and they're available online for anyone who takes a look at them. They can see what they show, and we think that's a right step in the possibility of transparency as far as the situation is concerned. So with that, I have nothing further other than to answer your questions, and I have with me also the police chief from Evendale today, who is available for questions and answers as you might wish.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for being here. Thank you for the team for being here as well. My question, I think, is for the police chief, because it's back to this idea of I'm struggling because people have brought this de-escalation piece to me over and over again. And how do you, in that situation, you de-escalated, you and the sheriff were in concert and you had the similar training in doing that, and it worked. Nobody got hurt, nobody got shot. So in that way, job done. However, after the group had been moved or left and went somewhere else in the U-Haul, then you no longer have a situation where you're worried that somebody's going to get shot, right? Or that people are coming up against one another. And so I'm wondering, and maybe this is part of your investigation, at that point in time, was there an opportunity to cite, to arrest, to do anything along the, and the reason I'm asking that is because when you cite somebody for a traffic ticket or doing something, you know, that's illegal, you get information about them. And so my understanding, and since I've asked this question a couple of times, I'm told that some people who are in this space say, well, this group is not known. There are some folks that know this group, and some of these folks could be identified. But I'm just wondering, by way of strategy, if you're trying to figure out who they are, they've got masks on, they're in a dark van, they obviously don't want to be identified. Is there a way to get information from them as you've got them off-site somewhere and you are not in the same situation as you were on the overpass? And I just, as a layperson, again, and I've been asked this, I don't understand the response to that. Maybe there were no citable offenses, and I've asked that question too, you know. If there was no arrest that could be made, and I've heard that, all right, was there anything that could have been citable, just to gather information so we have more of idea of who perpetrated this on our community?
Yeah, so in regards to that, to put this into perspective for the officer that was with that U-Haul away from the scene. As he drove away in his cruiser from the scene, there were people up on the overpass yelling, "Let's go get that U-Haul." He had directed it to go to the bottom of a ramp that was maybe 100, 125 yards away because he wanted to make sure that they left the area and that they did not try to go back to get that car. They don't stop at the bottom of the ramp as he had directed them to do. They continue southbound down towards Shepherd Lane. So it takes him a minute and a half, 2 minutes to eventually catch up to the U-Haul. During that minute and a half, 2 minutes, there's additional radio traffic from officers on the scene up on the bridge saying there's a group of counter protesters up here that say they are going to go look for the U-Haul. So although he was removed from that initial scene, his mindset at the time was, this is still not entirely safe. The folks could come looking for this U-Haul, and by a straight line, they're only about 1.5 miles away at that point. So they're still in close proximity. So part of his decision-making factors at the time is, I know that there's people coming to look for this U-Haul. So he's trying to expedite the process of getting them out of the area.
Thank you. In your investigation, and I guess the sheriff will be the same, I would be curious to know if you are looking at, you know, we've heard about, you know, free speech, not arrestable offense, right? This traveling in the U-Haul as an adult, not an arrestable offense. I would be curious to know, as you proceed in your investigation, if there were any offenses that could be cited, so that we need to figure out, if this were to happen again, what does that look like? And how do we, if needed, change our behavior so that we're gathering information on these folks so they don't get away scot-free and nobody knows who was here, right? And so I am just wondering if, as part of the investigation, and maybe it's already on the radar, if there is a strategy, if there is a situation where you've got them off-site. I hear what you're saying. That I didn't know that, so thank you for the answer. But if there were a situation where they're off-site and you can cite a few of them for something, then at least we've got some leads, right, and trying to go after these guys. So it's all about what happened, and I thank you for providing perspective on what happened. But it's also about, if this happens again, have we done all that we can do, and is there anything that we need to do differently moving forward? And so that citable piece, I talked to a judge the other day who said to me, the value of doing that is not issuing a ticket and getting somebody to pay, you know, $100 or what, it's the information that you're collecting at that point in time. So I just want to offer that, and if you could answer, if you know at this time, if that's part of the investigation moving forward.
Yeah, I am going to answer that, but it's going to be a little bit of an extended answer because I'm going to throw in a couple other questions that are all related to this investigation, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
So what we are doing as a police department with our investigation, I suspect this third party is going to do exactly the same thing, and I suspect the sheriff's department is going to do the exact same thing. We are literally building a timeline, minute by minute, and where appropriate, second by second. and we will look at every single decision our officers made out there. And, when did they shut down traffic? Why did, what were the precipitating events that caused them to shut down traffic? And again, going to the U-Haul, when we had that encounter away from the scene, what could that officer have done? What should that officer have done? That is part of the overall thing. This is a very complicated event. We have over 16 hours of body cam footage to review. I believe the sheriff's office has over 40 hours of body camera footage to review. By looking at the dispatch records, there were a total of 39 police officers from 16 separate police departments that responded to this in some manner, shape, or form. It takes a lot to work through all these details. And all those questions will be answered in our internal review and as well as a third party. And just to bring up an example of that, of why this takes time to sort out, when the sheriff talked about the incident with somebody being at gunpoint, it was radio traffic from one of our officers because he thought one of the Nazis and or one of the passers-by may have been pointing guns at each other. So it wasn't him that had somebody at gunpoint. His radio traffic made reference to somebody being at gunpoint. So those little nuances and how that gets sorted out, the details are what matters, and it takes time to sort through those details because we can either give you a fast investigation or a thorough investigation, but we can't give you both. So.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor, for coming, and also thank you for coming. Since you're both up there, I have a question for Mayor Finan. We have about 4 pages of questions and answers on your letterhead, so I'm assuming that you approve these. Specifically, item C, was a permit issued for the demonstration? If so, why was the county not notified or consulted? And it says, here's the answer. The Village of Evendale did not issue a permit. We were not consulted, informed, or warned in advance. And then at the end, you write this, whoever writes it. It looks like all these answers were either a PR firm or AI at the end. Because at the end of every answer is like a pacifier or like killing them softly with gentleness. I mean, I didn't need all that stuff at the end, but maybe some people did. But my question is, which was not answered, is there a need for a permit? Was there a need for a permit?
I do not think there's a need for a permit. We do have situations where people, for example, car show companies want to come in on a Sunday afternoon and have a display. They have to get a permit in this situation. Should these people have had to get a permit? Yeah, they probably should have gotten a permit. But at the same time, they didn't.
So as far as that, so they didn't get a permit.
No.
They probably should have. So is that something you could have cited them for when they left the overpass? Not you, but the police.
I don't know. Our situation was de-escalation. This happened a short period of time. Our officers got there first, and they were faced with a crowd, anger, and it was our job to separate the two groups.
Okay, so I want to know specifically, the officer, maybe the chief can answer this, specifically, when it was said that it's terrible, but it's lawful, how was that determined so quickly that it was a lawful demonstration?
So when the demonstration began, they walked from up on TechView, from a social media video I've seen, and then our body camera videos there at the scene. They walked from TechView and they walked down the sidewalk, and they were on the sidewalk. They cross at an intersection, and there is a sidewalk on that overpass. And they stayed on that sidewalk for an extended period of time. Later, some of them do step off the sidewalk when there's some conflict between them and some vehicles passing by. And that's brief in duration. And again, that in and of itself may be a pedestrian violation by stepping off the sidewalk that amounts to a traffic ticket. And given the totality of the circumstances out there and the potential for danger and conflict, a decision was made not to issue any citations or make any arrests.
So on a sidewalk, we have ADA disability So if somebody wanted to walk through or take their wheelchair through, there was a violation of ADA disability law because they were on the sidewalk. There needs to be a certain amount for people to get through. Is that right? That's
Well,
right.
In my letter to the prosecutor's office, I don't remember the exact language that I used, but I made reference to the fact that there's some specialized and unique legal considerations. So when it comes to detailed breakdowns of laws, I would defer to the prosecutor's office with their review of it.
Okay. I think this is lastly for the chief. I'm reading your statement of facts, and I'm really surprised at the second paragraph. And you state, upon arrival, Evendale officers saw a group of organized demonstrators dressed alike. How vague is that? I mean, did they have on pink pajamas or yellow sweatshirts? As a police officer, I think you would say dark outfits or something like, why would you say dressed alike and not, because when you talk about somebody in black, that's an invasion. So when you say they were dressed alike, how were they dressed alike? And then you never mention with signs and banners consistent with Nazi symbolism. But guess what? You left out the mask. Do you know how intimidating those? You never mentioned in your report that they even had masks on. So this is a historical document, and if somebody read it and trying to do a fair investigation, of course they could watch the video. But I'm just wondering, since you left that out, that critical information, what else did you leave out of your summary?
That summary was to give a general overview of the situation, not for a detailed, breakdown of the facts. This longer review will include a much greater breakdown and details of the facts.
Well, why did you put in dressed alike then? That's vague. I mean, why didn't you just extend it to what they were dressed in and that they had on those scary masks? I would think that would be included.
Again, it was just to give an overall.
But it didn't. Because when you look at that video and you see those masks, that's something that should have been in here.
I understand your perspective on that, Commissioner.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Reese?
Thank you very much. And let me say, as a board, we have funded many entities, Evendale, Lincoln Heights. Our goal is to have one strong Hamilton County. Today, I'd asked the administrator, I wanted 14 days to get back with the people. And you have indicated that you either can be thorough or you can be swift. And I'm here to tell you that I believe both can be done because it's not over. The longer it takes and drag it, I just want to tell people it's not going away. It's not going to get watered down. It's not going, maybe they'll just go away. And then a report come out 2 years from now or a year from now, talk about we've investigated ourselves and we found out we did nothing wrong. We can't have that. We got to be communicating because we got the internet now. They're investigating and there's videos. So there's a couple things that I have. Number one, you said that there was no permit and you indicated, am I right about that? No permit?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and you did not know they were coming.
That's correct.
Do you know who they are? Are you familiar with these people? Do you know their names? Do you know them?
Some.
You do know some of these neo-Nazis?
Hindsight.
Yes, in hindsight.
Hindsight.
In hindsight, okay. We got to get their names out there. Now, here's what I thought was interesting. February 7th, let me get my stuff together here. You made a statement. You all made a statement, a very swift statement on NBC National News. You indicated, it said, Evendale police said officers responded to the demonstration, you called it a demonstration, we call it invasion, on Interstate 75 overpass shortly after 2 p.m. Here's the quotes. The protest was occurring on sidewalks designed for pedestrian travel, Evendale police said in a statement. The protest, while very offensive, was not unlawful. You put this in a statement to national news. The protest was short-lived. According to y'all said y'all had to hurry and de-escalate, but now it was short-lived in duration. The protest, this is what you had. The protesters left the area on their own. That was February 7th. Mayor, I appreciate you, but you did not respond until February 16th when you denounced them on the 16th. But from the 7th, we put out to national news, to these groups, a welcome mat. You can come here. You can walk on our sidewalks. It was peaceful. How did you, if you were de-escalating, how did you able to type so fast to get the press release out? Because most of the time, everybody else was trying to get themselves together. So people believe that you had a pre-knowledge of them because you already had a press release.
I dispute that. We have stated clearly we had no knowledge that they were coming.
Okay, but I'm looking at your statement. Who put it out? That they said this was lawful. It was not unlawful.
Doesn't relate.
Who put it?
How did one relate to the other?
How does one relate to the other? Because you said something different on the 7th than you did on the 16th. No, on here, you said they're okay. You said it was short-lived. I'm just going by what you said. You said they left on their own when we now have a video that they didn't leave on their own. Your police department escorted them to even another community. You didn't even escort them back to Evendale. You sent them to Lachlan. And they're mad. I understand you mad, but you can't be that mad. The people who got invaded should be more mad. So I'm trying to ask you, who wrote the statement that said they left on their own, and now we got the body camera, and we're told that you escorted them out?
All right, for clarity, I wrote that initial press release, and it was after the incident was over. That statement they left on their own meant that they were not given an order to disperse. It was their choice to leave on their own.
Okay.
The police never said to them, you have to leave this area.
Okay, now let me go back to the camera. I wish they'd let me show the videos. They said, don't show the videos. That's what my chief of staff said in the meeting. They said, don't show the videos because they were a little rough. But here's what I'm saying about this video that I saw. On the video, your body camera, and on national, first of all, you put this out to national news.
No, it went.
Well, it got to this says NBC National, whoever picked it up. But this is what you sent out. You agree you sent this?
Put it out on the internet.
Right, you put it out. You got it out.
NBC.
I understand, but something like that, most people, that's on a Friday. I really don't have time to type. It went out pretty quick. And you said they left on their own. What we see on the video is that they said, we made a call and they're coming to get us, to escort us out of here. Who did they call? That's what I'm asking. Who did they call? Because y'all showed up right after they said that.
I'm not sure which comment you're referring to, so I can't answer that specifically. But I will include that as part.
But they were escorted out.
You
said you let them out to de-escalate, but on here you said they left on their own. Leaving on their own mean they packed up, you wasn't nowhere around, and they decided to leave. That's leaving on their own. What we see, and I'm not trying to blame you, I'm just saying what's on the video. It had your thing, your police car, and it said Evendale. And it was like a parade. You was easing them on out. So did you escort them out, or did they pack up without y'all being involved?
No, they packed up their U-Haul. Our officer said, drive to this bottom of this ramp, and I will talk to you about getting that other car. The officer was concerned they were going to go back on their own into Lincoln Heights to get that car. Mm-hmm. The officer drives to the bottom of the ramp. When he gets there, they are not there where he told them to go. He is now worrying that they are heading back to Lincoln Heights. He then goes to try and catch up with that vehicle. He catches up with that vehicle about a mile later as it's getting on the ramp to southbound 75 from Shepherd. He passes the vehicle, gives him a hand gesture, and has him pull over into Lachlan. And where he pulled over into Lachlan was what he thought to be an alleyway behind the Marathon gas station, and had no idea that there was a Lachlan temporary educational annex there.
But do you see all this you done to try to help them? He done ran on the ramp. He done stopped them from a run. Now, if they leaving on their own, why would he care? They left on their own. and you would call the sheriff to say, hey, they might be coming back. I don't know anybody's looking for somebody and don't give them a ticket. Don't cite them for anything. He done ran all over what you said. He supposed to get off on the ramp. They were leaving on their own. They're leaving on their own. Nobody cares. But you said he told them to get off this way, but he didn't go off that way, and it went over here. And now you in two different communities. You're over in Lincoln Heights. Now we're over in Lockland. I guess that's where I'm concerned. Then I saw another video that you released, and on the video the guy was talking, and he had a guy with that was driving the U-Haul. I don't know if it's true, but the internet has supposedly found his. You said you released your stuff on the internet, so I guess you believe in the internet. The internet said this guy had a record or whatever, but we don't know because nobody asked him for his driver's license. They were at the school, which is more dangerous, right? And then the other thing that happened was he said, I'll go get your car. Why should he care about his car? What we care about that at this point?
The concern was that if law enforcement didn't address the car, that the Nazis were going to try to return to the car on their own, which would be a huge public safety threat.
Okay, now let me ask you this.
In the car was his service dog.
Okay, but here's my I feel real bad for that because I don't want him having the service dog doing this type of work. You know what I'm saying? But my point is, everything you say is to help the Nazis. You might not see it, you listen to it. Our concern was the Nazis are non-threatening. As long as they was on the sidewalk and Lincoln Heights didn't show up, you all didn't have no problem with it. Then when Lincoln Heights showed up, now you got to go into what you call de-escalation. Then you got to go and protect them from the community that they invaded. And then your officer now is going on a whole parade, leading them off of this exit and off of that exit, but you never talk to the sheriffs, who are the people who are responsible for Lincoln Heights. You doing it all on your own. Nobody, not one time did you say they all over in Evendale. Then you drop them off over in Lockland, and then you even try to diminish Lockland's school board by saying, we didn't know it was a temporary, I don't care if it's temporary or full time. You're supposed to be a law enforcement, but you're taking them to their neighborhood. And then you're letting them get out. Then you say, oh, I got to go get your car. And I do support service dogs, but I also support people. And so we didn't care about the people. We got to go get his car that's parked in Lincoln Heights that shouldn't have even been over there. And then it's all this protection of them. And that's where the people got a problem. And even today, it's protection of them. You send out a statement, you say, we gonna double down. They did not break the law. We don't know if they broke the law or not. You didn't run their license plates. You didn't get their names. You don't know if they got warrants. You didn't run none of that. You're too busy parading around giving them a detail. And then you said, well, we were just trying to get them out of here. But you didn't want them out of there originally. You said they can come. They're on the sidewalk, is what you said. They're on the sidewalk. You said they're peaceful. So I think that's what the people have a problem with. Lockland is ticked off because you done led them to their neighborhood. Lincoln Heights is ticked off because you let them stay there until Lincoln Heights showed up. The schools are mad because nobody notified. Nobody cared about these babies coming out of school. Got to get on the bus, got to walk home. You didn't care nothing about them. Kids were walking home from Lockland, and they was like, what's going on? People getting off the bus from school. If they had been notified, they may have rerouted buses or put protection out there. But you said they are peaceful. So this is where I think that there is a lack of trust, and the lack of trust comes from the videos. Everything I'm talking about is what's on the videos, what I saw with my own eyes. And so that's why people are upset. And so I have to say it, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. The man got on the phone. I saw it on the video. You can watch it. He said, they're coming to get us and escort us out of here. And then all of a sudden, here come, you all showed up. I don't know if you just got caught with the bag or what, but you guys showed up and escorted them out of there. The other thing they said to a resident, while using, of course, the N-word in a threatening way, they said, we're going to lock your black up. Well, how can they lock anybody up? Do they have authority? Who are they? That's why I want to know who are they? Why do they feel they can lock up somebody? And now they have people's license plates, but we don't even know who they are. I don't know who they are. I got to go to the internet. They done found them. And then I hear that some of them's out of Tennessee. So we giving Tennessee more help and detail and protection that we giving the citizens that pay taxes here in Hamilton County. So I just want to be very clear. I don't know who they called, but they called somebody, and Uber and Lyft didn't show up. Evendale showed up. And Lachlan called me. They were ticked off because they got put into this thing, and they said they had nothing to do with it. And now the video shows you all led them to Lachlan. And there is a ton of things that we should have been looking at, trying to get them a ticket or something, run their license, get their names, who are they, facial recognition, all those. One guy took his thing off, so we should have something on him. He took his whole thing off. And we started talking to him like a valet service. Well, I can go get your car and I'll bring it over here, and don't you worry about it. That's where we have a problem. So until we get this really resolved, we're going to become the welcome mat for this type of behavior. And I want to be clear, I don't want any community throughout Hamilton County. This cannot be your welcome place. We cannot roll out no red carpet. We cannot provide no free escorts. We cannot do any of that. We want it to be very, very, very uncomfortable for this type of behavior in our county. Go somewhere, go to another county. Hit the road, Jack. Don't come back here no more. I want to say it's too hot, too much heat. If you come there, the police is all over you. I want you to look at it like you do with the drug bust. You're all over them. If you come here, it's some heat. We don't want that behavior here to divide our communities, divide our county. We don't want that. Don't put no flag up here. Do not put a stake in the ground. This is not the spot. Go somewhere else. And it's interesting that they picked this area because everywhere else they kind of went downtown and different things. They picked it. Somebody had to scope it out. Somebody had to tell them this is the place to go. How would they pick it out? And the last thing I would say is they have not gone away. Now Lincoln Heights got leaflets all over the place. Talking about the KKK. They running with flags. Somebody said they were talking about fire. And, we don't want a Tulsa here. So I'm just saying we want to work together, and we should be working together. And if you claim you against it, then you should make it so hot that this type of stuff cannot come here. Now, I'm not in law enforcement. I'm going to ask the prosecutor, but I know that there's a litany of laws on the books. Ohio got so many laws. We talked about codifying some of them. It's something on them books that was violated. I don't know what it is. And in Columbus, they arrested somebody for using the N-word in fighting terms. And it was upheld, I understand, in the Ohio Appeals Court. So there is something possibly on the books. But I just wanted to put that on there. These videos are disturbing. The body cams, the social media cameras, it's disturbing. And we have got to send a message that this will not be happening here. We will not tolerate it. We got to figure out a way. So I just wanted to say that. There's a lot of other questions that I know that the people had. But the other thing is, if you're going to go to Lincoln Heights to grab a vehicle, then you can go to Lincoln Heights and work with the mayor to say we got to come together to stop this stuff. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Can I make a comment before you leave? I just heard the chief say when they went over the overpass to leave, you lost sight of them. How did that happen? The distance is not that far. So did you turn your attention toward the Lincoln Heights residents and just let them go? How did you lose sight of the U-Haul?
So that officer that told them to wait at the bottom of the ramp, and it's about 125 yards away. Right. It bends down, and when you're up on that overpass, you cannot see the bottom of that ramp from where that officer was. He then walks and tells another officer, I'm going to go talk to that U-Haul. He gets in his cruiser. He drives to the bottom of that ramp, and the U-Haul is not there. He then asked a police officer who was on a traffic post right there at the bottom of that ramp, did you see where that U-Haul went?
Well, why didn't we follow the U-Haul? Why didn't we follow to make sure they did what they were supposed to do? Why do we just leave it on that they were such responsible people that they would follow the directions? We had enough officers out there to follow them behind them to make sure they went where the officers.
Right, but none of the officers immediately in that area were in their cruiser at the time. So the officer had to go from where he was standing to go get in his cruiser to go follow it.
Yeah, but you don't give direction to someone who is irresponsible. Go down here, go around the ramp, and we're going to meet you down here. I don't think that's
Well,
works.
those sort of detailed questions is what will be in the final report. Both
Okay,
ours and
because that's not on the video.
I understand.
Well, can I just follow up on that real quick? Because it does beg the question, as you do this investigation, as we think about moving forward, were it not for the car that was left behind, they may not have stopped, right?
That's correct.
They would have kept going, and then there would have been no opportunity to get any information from them in a place that was not, in the mix. And so I hear what you're saying. It does beg the question, if we wanted to get information from them, we've got to figure out a strategy to do that, because they stopped because it was in their interest to stop, because they had left a vehicle behind, right? And so, so we just, that's something that's got to be thought through, because I am hyper-focused, I know, on getting information about these individuals, because I think it's really important that people be held accountable for what they did, and without any information, we can't do that. Whether it was arrestable, citable, it doesn't matter. These were folks that should be held to account, and I think that's the idea here: is what is the opportunity, whether it's on that site or somewhere else, to get the information to do that piece. And I know it was a chaotic situation. I know it was frenzied. I've heard about the de-escalation, and it clearly worked, and nobody was hurt, nobody was shot. But there's this other piece that still lingers out there.
It worked because the people worked it.
Right.
And
well, that's right.
I really truly believe that, because a lot of people had guns, of course, and so it was just something, a miracle happened, and I said that before at another meeting, that people did not get hurt, of course, but it took some restraint from the Lincoln Heights residents to make sure that nothing happened. Yeah, the police were involved in it, but the police couldn't have handled all those people, so they made a decision, we're not going there, and so they didn't, and I'm so happy about that.
Yep. Agreed. Yep.
I do just got a couple follow-up questions. One is, on that bridge that's over I-75, and they got these AK or whatever, they got the guns, AR-15s or what have you. Because it's Lincoln Heights also, but it's people that's driving up under there, and people were calling and say, hey, they're driving, they're pointing. How do we determine that it's legal and it is peaceful if you have these people with in other words, you kind of showed up because Lincoln Heights folks showed up, and then you showed up. Had Lincoln Heights not shown up, they're on this bridge, they got these heavy artillery guns, and people are driving on heavy traffic underneath. How do you determine that it's peaceful and safe with that type of situation?
So as the sheriff mentioned, Ohio is, it's an open carry state and a constitutional carry state. So the mere possession of a weapon in any public place is in of itself not a violation of law. It would have to be your behavior with that weapon where...
Right, no, I understand, but pointing the weapon is not, my understanding, people said the weapon was pointed and they were driving and was scared. So that's my point is, how do you know it's safe if you're not there? And you only show up when the community say enough is enough. Because that was a lot of cars. You should have been in the area looking, and at least they should have been on, on the highway. Everybody should be notified, is what I'm saying.
Our officers did not observe them pointing a weapon at anybody.
I don't know how they missed all these videos. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to also say is, you hired somebody to look into it. What are they looking into? Just Evendale, or will they be working with Lincoln Heights? What is the timeline for a final report?
They're looking at all of the communities adjacent to Evendale, all of the people who are involved in this process, and the timeline is 90 days.
90 days, okay. Okay, well, that's the question that I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. We've got one more presentation from the prosecutor. So Connie Pillich is here. And Connie, I know you've brought a couple members of your team too, so I'll have you introduce them and give us an update on what you're doing regarding this event.
All right, good morning. Connie Pillich, Hamilton County Prosecuting Attorney. I did bring several members of my team. Obviously, you know your General Counsel, Pat Dressing, my Chief of Administrative Strategy, Jacob Hamblin, and my Chief of Civil, Stephen Simon. So we share the alarm of this situation. And my job is to ensure the safety of every single community in Hamilton County. I have created an internal task force to study all of the evidence, and as you've heard, there are ample hours of video to review. There are ample police reports to review. I'm sure there will be ample witnesses to meet with and discuss. And I have a team of what I consider to be crackerjack lawyers working on every aspect of this. And I think it's very important that we have multiple eyes looking at these videos, because these are many hours, and it's very likely that one person looking at a half-hour segment might miss a detail. And that's why all 5 of the people on my task force are studying all of these videos. It's going to take them some time. In addition to studying just the video, we are doing our legal research, which is what lawyers do, getting into the nitty-gritty of what sort of legal repercussion or consequence could a certain action lead to. We're not doing this lightly. We are taking this very seriously, but it is going to take some time. And I ask that you give us some time to get through all this. It's a very meaty problem, a very meaty situation. And it's just going to take some time to get through the investigation. For instance, I received the timeline, a brief prelude to it last Friday. We've got more information today, and this is being shared with us by the police and by the sheriff's office. So these things are coming to us, but until we see all of the facts, and we're not going to let anything slip by the wayside. We're going to see these facts, and we're going to see what we can do, what sort of repercussions there are in the legal world, in criminal actions, traffic citations, freedom of speech actions. We're going to look at it all, because I know that you're going to have all these questions for us. We want to make sure that we do these things right. I'll take your questions.
Thank you. Yes, and you've already heard a bunch of the questions, and again, from ourselves, but also from the community. So my one question for you then, given what we heard from the mayor at the very start, as you conduct your investigation, I know you're relying on the videos that are coming from the body cams in particular, but are you going to engage the community, who also have videos and were firsthand witnesses to what happened, unlike the Nazis that left, and we, they're gone, but the residents remain, and they were all there. They were witness to what happened. Not all of what happened was captured on video. And so how do you intend to engage those that were witness to the event?
Generally, the process is that we work with law enforcement. Law enforcement generally finds the witnesses, talks to them, gets some information. They do some evaluation, present those to us. Anytime we have a case that moves forward, the prosecutor's job is to interview the witnesses as well. And we will do that too.
Okay, so there are many witnesses here in the room today. The mayor, I assume, is the spokesperson if the prosecutor were to need to get in touch with individuals. The mayor and others in the room are here today, so I hope we all take advantage of making those connections. Thank you. Commissioner Sumro Dumas.
Thank you for your review that you're starting. Will there be any collaboration with the independent reviewer that that Evendale has just hired, or will you do it independently yourself?
I think the reviewing organization that Evendale has hired, if they want our input, they will come talk to us. It is my understanding they are going to try to determine the facts, but also police response, which could be light years apart in any criminal action we might launch.
Okay.
So we're going to conduct our
Independent.
we're going to be more independent, but keep in mind that we are dependent on the facts that we get from both police departments, internet videos that we can verify the veracity of, and the witnesses, the eyewitnesses that we talk to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Reese.
Thank you, Prosecutor Pillage. And I want to thank you to responding when I sent the email to Jeff. I copied everyone on it. And you wanted the first to reply, say, thanks for including us, and we're ready to go. And I'm glad to see that the sheriff announced that you are doing an independent investigation. A couple things I want to highlight. One, there is a case in Columbus where someone was arrested using, not just using the N-word, but using it directly to intimidate somebody. See, there's difference.
I'm aware of the case.
Right? And then they sued Columbus. They arrested the person, they sued Columbus, and they lost. And they went to the Ohio Appeals Court, is what I'm told. You would know more about that. But I want to put that on the table because people are saying it happened. I think Mr. Ruffin, I don't know if he's here, but it happened on one of the videos to him, and no one was arrested. In fact, the person with the mask on said that they were going to arrest him. And I couldn't understand how the guy with the mask on is arresting anybody, unless something I don't know. But we wouldn't know because he had on a mask. We don't know his face. So that video, obviously, all videos that were sent to me by residents throughout, I have sent them over to Mr. Ludo, and then Mr. Ludo certainly providing it for you. One is, I would say that we need a statements piece, maybe something at the church, all those who were there who would like to make a statement. Maybe they could have it at Lincoln Heights Baptist, might be somewhere else, where you could come in with your attorneys and other attorneys, a sheriff, you coordinate, obviously, with everybody, because the sheriff taught me that we need to make a statement. The issue that happened to me downstairs, she said, the deputy sheriff should have made a statement. So she taught me something that I had somebody come to my house, I don't know who it was, banging the doors. I'll know now because I got cameras everywhere and lights all over the place. But I should have made, when the police came, I said, I got to make a statement because I don't know the people's faces. And this happened after the time. So if there maybe could be something maybe set up where the community feels safe in, they can come, and we got the lawyers there. You can, I'm not a lawyer, but they can, the paperwork. Everybody made statements. So everybody can state officially what they saw, where they were. You have all that, and that would help. You can cipher through so the community and citizens can make their statements. They can also maybe have a place. Evendale has set up a website for the body camera. Maybe there needs to be some kind of portal set up that the citizens can share their videos. So if they have something maybe that you all don't have, or I don't have to pass over, then like you said, we can make sure we didn't miss anything. And I know you have all the forensic people, and I watch a lot of CSI and all that. So I know you got the people. I need Horatio right about now. He'll get to the bottom of it. But having that in a web where people can put that down, a statement day that people can come, maybe 2 days or whatever, they can come, and it's just all day they come and write their statements. There may be some seniors who've seen something, but their handwriting not as good. They got some people, there may be legal aid or some people can help with that, so that our prosecutor can have all information from the community as well as from the law enforcement. Those are the kind of things. The other thing is, I think, setting up a communication system. There needs to be a system so that Lincoln Heights knows what's going on. You got the sheriff, you got the prosecutor, you got Evendale. Everybody knows there's some kind of communication system. Maybe Nick, you the EMA guy, you got everybody, you got this text things, help set something up that people can get the information. You don't have to maybe make a phone call, but there's some kind of system set up. So if something's coming down the pike and we're added to the EMA system too, that people can dial into. Those are to me things going forward that maybe help, like you said, because you want to do a thorough investigation. That is our long term. But on the short term, we got to come up with something, because some other, whether it's this hate group or some other hate group, they're starting to act like this is like, they vacation home. We going down to say, we got to tell them, don't you come down here. So we got to find something, because we just had an incident happen in Lincoln Heights with these flyers. And then I hear there's the anniversary. This is supposed to be an anniversary year of the KKK. Well, you can't have a celebration here. We've got to come up and say this is not where the celebration is going to happen. So maybe working with law enforcement, and of course, your office that deals with also intimidation and those kind of things, anti-intimidation, and maybe helping these officers know what laws are on the books, because there's a litany of them, and they may be able to implement those. Maybe they need a little refresher. So those are the things that I would certainly recommend or suggest as we go forward, and I appreciate you stepping in and being able to report back to us what the findings are. I know you are going to work to put your foot down, so we appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you again, Madam Prosecutor, for being here. Thank you to everybody for being here. We appreciate you coming in, answering the questions, offering your perspective, helping folks understand what the mindset was the day that this happened. We do need to, though, get to some of the long-term questions that have been brought up by way of citable offenses. What would have been the strategy to get information from folks? How do we better communicate with the community? What does that look like collectively? And so we all need to be part of the solution. And so I'm grateful that you all are here and we're willing to provide the information that we asked you for. One last thing, Commissioner, I want to remind everyone that the county has a lot of this information on our website. Bridget, I'm looking at you. You're nodding. That's true. And if you want to engage after you read some of the information, there's an opportunity to do that on the website, and we will be tracking that to make sure that we are up to speed on those communications. Commissioner Summer-Dumas.
I just wanted to make a comment about the communication component. I don't know if Mayor Ruby, she's still there. When I was there, we developed the communication component where you just dial a number, it goes all over the village. And I don't know if we still have that. If not, I can connect you to the people we had. Do we have?
We actually had a robo system set up. But
So I'm going to ask you, Madam Mayor, if you would come to the podium, because otherwise folks can't hear you.
We actually had a robo system set up, but about 2 months ago, the company that we used, I don't know if it got hacked, but we've been looking to try to get a new robo system, because that was a great tool for us to, as we collect phone numbers from our residents, we were able to get the word out. So we used ROK Consultants that does our website. And I will be talking to them about possibly working with the prosecutor office so that the residents will be able to, witnesses, be able to give that info, directly to them. So I did listen to what you were saying, and I'm going to be working with Ms. Pillage to make sure that we can do that. But as far as the robo system, we are trying to find another provider.
Well, that's even more impressive, because when I saw all the Lincoln Heights residents that made it over there, I said, oh, they're using their robo system. And you guys didn't even have it. So
Facebook.
Well, I know it's Facebook, but I was thinking that would exacerbate. What? It's okay. It's all good. Yeah.
No, I was saying because the actual residents are the ones that, pointed. I'm agreeing with that, how the residents mobilized and were able to be organized in a sense to respond.
Right. I think it's great.
I was agreeing with.
Is Nick Crosley still in the room? You are. I don't know if there's a nexus here, Commissioner, and I don't know which one of you said it, but if there's a nexus here, so Nick Crosley is the head of our emergency management organization. We do have this alert system, and so I don't know, Nick, if you see a nexus here between what's being discussed by way of Lincoln Heights, specifically like one community as opposed to the whole county, but I would like you to weigh in if there is.
Sure. So we work with, through Alert Hamilton County, we work with a lot of our communities. So a community their size would be, so normally but we do emergency communications, right? So when you think of a situation like this, there's the ongoing sort of community notifications that obviously an internal system built to talk to, hey, there's a meeting at town hall at 2:00. That's one system. So ours is, and we can work with the mayor on developing, say, called Alert Lincoln Heights. So if there is an event where they think there's a public safety danger or a community notice that needs to go out, hey, avoid this area, or this is going on. So it's a system to let people know this is going on and this is what we're doing about it. Here's where you can go get more information. So yes, we can work with them on
That's
the emergency.
great.
That'd be, I think, very helpful.
That'd be great.
Nick Crosley, everybody. Nick Crosley. He's a superstar in what he does. So thank you, Nick, for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Administrator, anything further from you?
I didn't get to say my closing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Reese.
Yeah, okay. So I do want to thank everybody for coming down here. I want to thank my colleagues, and I want to thank the administrator. I did say that we wanted to get something to you in writing, and I think today helped get some more folks to the table. So I want to thank them for that. And we said 14 days, and we're rocking with it. The other thing that I do want to say, on the communication side, I got two components. The first component is we need statements, and I'm kind of envision, and I don't want to throw Pastor out here with his church, but I'm envision, they've got banquet facilities where they got the tables, and you got a whole day of lawyers, and you got the papers to make your statement if you have a statement. And then there's a portal that would have, if you got a video to download, and the statement can be both. You could set it up where you could come in and write the statement at the church, or there's online, you can fill it out. We have some portal that we did that with 513 Relief. You can do applications online now. So you could do it with your smartphone, or there'll be a day that you could come in and have those tables, and you can make your report with the statements. I think people would feel a lot more power. The second thing, though, is what Nick Crosley piece in terms of an alert. We got to have alert right now, because we just had a guy, and the community worked with the sheriff's office, caught the guy, thank God. He was walking around trying to get a flag, I think maybe wanted to burn it or something, and he had those leaflets he was running. 2 of them. And see, what I'm saying is getting too comfortable out here. So we've got to now come with a plan where the sheriff, everybody, prosecutor, we need a plan to man this area with the help, because you can't go to sleep. And someone had gave me the Greenwood, got me really nervous when they started talking about what happened in Tulsa. So we need the fire department. We need a 911 plan right now to stop these folks from coming in here, because now they saw it national, and they think only people fighting was Lincoln Heights, man. They coming back. We got to let them know the whole county is fighting on this thing. And we got to make it very unwelcoming. Now, this is one time I do not want to make them feel welcome. I want to put the heat on. Don't come. They say, man, don't go down there to Hamilton County, man. It's hot down there. So we got a two-pronged approach. We got the one thing about what happened, but then we got to come up. I'd like to see a strategy presented to us with all the parties involved. But what are we going to do from today on to protect? They're not showing up in Evendale right now. They're showing up in Lincoln Heights. What can we do to protect while we are investigating? We got to have a right now thing, and then we've got the longer term thing. So those are the things that I don't want people to leave here and feel like we are doing it. We're going to get everybody's statement is on record who wants to be on record. Videos now have been consolidated to some kind of portal. So we got videos as they come, because like you said, we need to know. Sheriff, you said, hey, I didn't know they were coming. It's a portal. Community investigators are the quickest ones, because they out in the community, they got these cell phones out here, and they're on the ground. So we want to have that. And then Nick, you setting up an alert, because they come in the middle of the night, we're going to hit them phones. So get ready. If you see somebody walking around, they look like they get ready to try to put something on fire, we done hit everybody. So we've got to have those things. So thank you again, and the work continues.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all for being here. Thank you. Really appreciate it. I am going to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.